This is episode 28 of the Brand Authority Podcast. Have you ever wondered how you show up online? Ever wondered what your audience sees when they look you up on social media? Today I'm going to show you how you can perform an online audit. Stick around.
This is the Brand Authority Podcast, the show for growth-driven leaders who want to win more customers, increase revenue, and gain the competitive edge. Broadcasting from sunny Los Angeles, here's your host, Rebecca Radice.
Well, hello and welcome back. Always so great to be here behind the mic and getting to chat with you. And I especially love this topic today. My little data brain, my process and systems brain loves this topic of creating a baseline, of really knowing how you show up for your clients, for those potential clients that are Googling you, they're searching for you. And you got to know, you need to know what they are finding on the other side. And I think a lot of times it's a little awkward. You're worried about what you're going to find. But I promise you, it is so good to know what they are not only searching for, but what they're going to find and really understand how to uncover that on your own. So that is what we're going to chat about today. But before we do, quick little favor for you. If you are enjoying the Brand Authority Podcast, and thank you so much for showing up here each and every week for every single episode, then I have one little favor to ask, which is, could you pop over to iTunes and give us a review? Because it just means so much to how we get found, how others are able to connect with us based off of this topic. And I would just so appreciate your positive feedback. I have received an outpouring of gratitude for this podcast and just everything from the topics to the systems and the solutions that I'm sharing. And I am so appreciative to every single person that has tweeted me or emailed me and just reached out in some way, shape, or form. Truly, it is my goal every single time I get behind this mic to ensure that I am bringing you an enormous amount of value. So if there's something, a topic you would love for me to chat about, please shoot me an email. You can write us at marketing@RebeccaRadice.com. Of course, you can tweet me at Rebecca Radice and just let me know what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what is it you would love for me to tackle, and we will get that on the schedule. All right, so let's jump into today's topic. And before you go off and running and you start auditing, I know that's a scary word, but really that's what you're doing. You are taking a good hard look so that you are looking at the reality of what's going on as opposed to what we tell ourselves is happening or what we can think is happening, but it's not the true or at least the whole story. So before you run off and do that, I want you to take a current situational analysis. And this is where you're creating a baseline. You're really starting from scratch. No matter how long you've been online, you need a place to start. So if you haven't been tracking all of your efforts online, today is the day you're going to start doing that. And your first stop is to take a realistic view of exactly what's happening. So first and foremost, you're going to go to each social channel. You're going to go to your website, your blog, anywhere you've set up an online presence. And you're going to review how each channel is performing. So take a look at everything you're doing. And do you have one channel that stands out as your pillar or your core channel? Now, let me give you a caveat on this. First of all, this should be an owned channel. So your website, your blog, not a social channel. I always liken social media and placing your majority of focus on a social channel as building a house on sand, because at any time change can happen. The Facebook algorithm is a great example of this, and your house comes toppling down. So we want to make sure that everything originates from a hub that you own. So let's talk about it from from your website and your blog perspective. For example, could be that in your process, you start with a blog post, maybe it turns into a podcast, and then it flows out to all of your social channels. So your social channels are those supporting pillars that make up your house or your hub. And they're going to help you spread that word. But what you first want to look at, and I want you to jot down, is what is your core channel? So where does that original content start? And then how does it flow out? So how have you created a streamlined process that easily takes a piece of content and then repurposes it or repositions it across all of your other social channels? Is that simple? Is it straightforward, or are you making it very difficult for your audience to find and connect with you? So that's the first place to start. Next, I want you to consider what you're doing differently on each of those channels. So I want you to look at your successful ones versus those that are just limping along. So again, here you're going to be realistic and you're going to be honest with yourself. Is it a case of spending more time? Maybe you're putting in more effort on those that are successful. Maybe you're posting better content. Or it could just be that you have a more engaged audience because that's where your audience is spending their time. So think about and write down what are those top performing channels. And then the next one I want you to look at is if those are your top performing channels, are you hitting your goals? And again, this is a reality versus perception baseline. So instead of shooting in the dark and making broad assumptions, you are grounded in data. So your decisions are really looking to the data to tell that story for you. So if you don't have goals in place, well, you need to go back and listen to episode 21 and then episode 24. Episode 21, I tackle social media goals. And then episode 24, I talk about content marketing goals. So both of those will help you really flesh out your own. And this, again, goes back to that current situational analysis. If you don't know what your goals are, if you don't know what you're working towards, how in the world are you ever going to know when you arrive? How are you going to know when you actually hit the mark? So take the time to not only peruse, take a good hard look at what you've got going on out there, but also whether or not these channels are serving you. You know, too often we start on this social channel or that social channel, or we start a blog and we're doing it. We're doing it for a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years, and we're not really looking at, hey, is this the exact right place that I should be? Because what was good for you yesterday doesn't mean that it's still serving your business today. All right, so now I want you to look at if you are constantly listening, are you constantly responding? Are you engaging across all of these channels? So are you responding to comments on your blog? Are you responding to comments on YouTube or maybe over on Instagram? Are you truly engaging with your audience, and do they feel as if you're accessible and interested in what they have to say? And now I want you to look at the competitive landscape. When was the last time you took a good hard look at what your competitors are doing out there? I want you to pick 4 or 5 that are consistently showing up either on their blog or across any of those social channels, those ones that you're really heavily focused on. And I want you to take a look. How are they staying relevant in your market? What are they talking about? What kind of content are they sharing? And how is their audience interacting with them? And this is something you're going to be able to not compare, because we're not here to compare ourselves to somebody else, but really creates that baseline of, okay, what if that's my competition and they are totally crushing it out there, I got a little bit of work to do. And there is never anything wrong with dangling that carrot out there in front of you, knowing that, yes, you are running your own race, you are posting your own content, your audience is your own, but there are people out there that are actively working their tushies off to do a terrific job. And so it becomes motivation for us to get out there, for us to show up on a consistent basis, and for us to know that if we're not doing it, somebody else is. And unfortunately, they are going to siphon away our audience. And then finally, I want you to take a look at your metrics. So this goes right along with your goals. And are you paying attention to your metrics, and have you recently reviewed them? And more than that, do you have a system in place that ensures that they're staying in front of you day after day and week after week? Because if they don't, it goes back to that scenario where you just keep doing the same old thing, and maybe you're expecting different results, but of course we know that's crazy. So you're not doing that, right? This just really holds you accountable in knowing that you're staying focused on what matters most to your business. You're not getting caught up in those warm, fuzzy vanity metrics that make you feel good, but don't actually serve a bigger purpose within your business. So they're not driving leads. They're not creating engagement. They're not creating awareness around your business, but they are keeping you stuck in the busyness that can be your business. So focus on those metrics that matter to you. All right, so now let's jump into the audit part. And this does not have to be scary at all. It's just going to give you a very good overview of what's going on between your message, your voice, your tone. Are you consistent across all of your different social channels, your blog, your website? And are they all interconnected? Do they have the same purpose? Does everything look and sound the same? So are you following your own style guide? Things like that. All right, so first one is I want you to go to each of your online channels, and I want you to look at your name. And I want you to make sure that the exact one is the same across all of your online profiles. Now, sometimes, for example, Twitter limits us in what our profile can be. So sometimes you have to make a little adjustment. But for the most part, you want to make it easy for people to find you. So, for example, the name of your company is Amy's Bakery, and your blog and Facebook page is Amy's Cupcakes. Little confusing, right? So you want to keep everything consistent. Don't make people hunt and peck to determine if that's actually you. Next up, I want you to look at all of your bios, your about, and I want to make sure that you're not keyword stuffing, but that you're incorporating your keywords that are relevant to your industry and your niche. So if not, you're going to go to Google search and you're going to type in 3 to 5 terms or those 2 to 3 word phrases that your audience would use when searching for your business. So let's go back to Amy's Bakery. So this could be Bakery Los Angeles. I happen to be in the Los Angeles area, so that's the first thing I think of, but it's location based. You may be just an online business, so you may not need to use your location, but what you want to think about are those exact terms or phrases that people would be typing in and searching when they're looking for you. Now, as I said, you're not going to stuff those into your bio and make it sound totally unnatural, as if you're speaking to a robot and not a human, but instead you're going to use them organically. So again, let me give you an example of what that difference might look and sound like. So first one is Amy's Bakery Los Angeles makes the freshest cakes in town, as opposed to Amy's Bakery was voted freshest cakes in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure you can see and hear the difference between the first one, which is very unnatural. It's nothing I would actually say to you if I was standing in front of you. So you want to write it as you would explain it to someone else. All right, next up, I want you to look at your full about section. So sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, they all give you a lot of real estate to work with, and you want to take full advantage of this extended bio. So add all of your contact information, your website, all of your other social networks, any other links. So any courses you have, any downloads that you want to offer, anything that is going to give people a very clear indication of who you are, what you do, and who you help. Now I want you to look at your profile picture and your logo and make sure that it is consistent across every single one of your channels. So first of all, you want to pick one that is the best representation of you. So a professional outlook of who you are, and then you want to use that everywhere, because this goes back to don't make people hunt and peck. Don't make people try to figure out, oh, wait a second, is that the same person? Because maybe you took one outdoors and you're really far away, so you show up in an Instagram photo or maybe on Twitter as this teeny tiny human out in the middle of a field. Don't do that. Use a professional headshot. Use a headshot that is the best representation of your personality, of who you are. So if you are warm and funny and silly and goofy, make sure that your picture embodies all of that. So people do feel that when they meet you offline, you are the same person that they've been interacting with online. Now, I will tell you, I use a variation of the same picture. So if you do a big photo shoot and you have a variety of images that are similar in style, but maybe a little bit different in background, don't worry about it. That's perfectly fine. What you don't want to do is have so many differences. So, for example, I decided I wanted to be a brunette for the first time in my life about a year ago. Okay, I've done away with all of those pictures because I'm now back to a blonde. Everybody knows me as a blonde. It was terribly confusing. But I want to make sure that if people land on one of my channels, they're not going, well, wait a second, I thought she was a blonde. I don't know if this gal is actually Rebecca. So don't make people question, don't make them wonder, because what happens when they do? It's a confused mind, and a confused mind doesn't what? They don't buy, they don't like, they don't click, they don't connect. So don't force them to run away from wherever they're trying to connect with you. Now I want you to take a look at how you're telling your brand story. Does it still seem to hit the mark? And I would encourage you to look at your bios, look at your company story at least every 6 months and freshen that up. Have you won new awards? Have you tried something different? Have you created something different? Have you launched something new? You want to make sure you're constantly freshening that up and staying as relevant as possible for your audience. And you also want to make sure that your audience is relating to it, that it is causing them to be able to self-select into your product. So they don't have to think about whether or not you're the right option. They just, boom, they automatically know. Or if you're taking a look at it, do you feel like you're constantly trying to convince them to take that next step with you? And if that's the case, well, then you got some reworking to do. And if you're not good at writing copy, I will tell you this is so critically important that you need to reach out. You need to find that person that is great at writing copy, because I know it can be very uncomfortable, very unnatural to write about yourself, especially to talk big about yourself, kind of toot your own horn. So if you feel incapable of doing that, no worries. There's plenty of people out there that can. Just ping me on email or at Rebecca Radice, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with people that are terrifically talented in that area. But just make a commitment to yourself and to your business to write the best copy you possibly can. So there's never a question in somebody's mind how they can hire you and how you help. Next up, I want you to take a look at your unique selling proposition and make sure that it is clearly articulated. So this has a lot to do with that last one and really telling your story. And then I want you to look at your blog and your website. When was the last time that you updated it? Was it within the last year? You know, things move at a lightning pace online, and if you are not staying up to date, it could be that you're falling prey to some big problems that could cause you to fall out of Google search or out of any of the search engines altogether. So you've really got to ensure that you've looked at your website, your blog, made any changes, and then also looked at it and made sure that it's easy to navigate and that your audience can easily find what they're looking for. So think about what are those top 5 pages, those top 5 ways you want people to take action with you on your website or your blog, and then ensure that all of those consistently stay up to date. And while you're looking at your website, I want you to determine, do you have a way to drive and capture leads? So have you identified what your lead magnet is? So what is that number one offer that's going to be top of funnel for you, really allow people to get to know you, and then lead them into a situation where you can build your email list, you can stay in front of them consistently, dripping on them with valuable information, and then stay in front of them and be able to nurture and cultivate that relationship. So if you haven't done that, don't worry. I have a podcast coming up that is dedicated to figuring out what your core product is and really putting those systems and processes in place to make it very, very easy to get it out there, to launch that, and then to use that as your lead magnet. And next up, I want you to look at your content marketing. So, do you have a content marketing strategy in place? Or are you playing a game of pin the tail on the donkey? Do you remember that game when we were kids and you go to birthday parties and they blindfold you and you had to somehow miraculously pin the tail on that donkey without being able to see? Well, trying to hit the target with your content marketing while blindfolded is really just making you and your company look like, well, a complete donkey, right? Because they can see, your audience can see that you don't have consistency, you don't have a tone or a voice, you don't have anything that they can connect to on a regular basis. So make sure that you've looked at that content marketing strategy and then go back to, I think I said it was episode 24, if you're looking to put your content marketing strategy in place. And then last but not least, I want you to look at where your leads are converting from, which channel is bringing you the most leads. So pop on over to your Google Analytics, look at your Facebook Analytics, Instagram. I want you to look across all of your channels and take a look at what is bringing you not only the most leads, but where are they truly converting? So which of your channels is converting at the highest rate? Or do you have channels where they're just stuck in the top of the funnel and they're stuck up there in awareness and you're not moving them down where you can nurture and then moving them into activation? And it could be that this goes back to your lead magnet. It could be that you don't have a way that you effortlessly move them into that nurture relationship with you, and then you don't have those next steps in place. So like I said, if you don't panic. Start with these beginning pieces, and then we're going to get more into the details in further episodes on how you can create that, how you can really ideate and flesh out that product, that lead magnet that is going to bring awareness to you, that's going to allow you to start building relationships with the people that are critical to your business, and then give you a way, and I'm sure you've seen this because, of course, we all subscribe to other people's email lists. I'm sure you've seen how some people you think, oh my gosh, do they just write emails all day long because they're emailing and emailing and emailing? And no, they didn't. They put those workflows into place so that it's there and they come back and they can tweak and they can edit based off of their analytics. But that system is in place so that they are bringing in those leads even while they sleep. And you can do the same exact thing. So there you have it, a very easy way for you to start to audit your online presence, for you to create a baseline so you really know what you're dealing with and you're not just making broad assumptions of how things are going or what's your best channel. I guarantee if you haven't gone through this process, you're going to have a few ahas. You're going to have those moments of, oh, wow, okay, I thought I was doing way better over here than I was doing over here. I just got done speaking on visual marketing, and I shared that Pinterest has been one of my top traffic drivers, but more than that, it converts at a higher rate. It actually converts 24.3% higher than any other social channel for me. And I think people are always surprised by that because so many discount a social network like Pinterest. So don't discount what you're doing or where you're doing it. Really create that eye-opening baseline for yourself so you know how you're going to move forward productively. We've got a brand new Facebook group, and I've got a quick short URL that you can follow to get there. So RebeccaR.com, RebeccaR.com/brand authority. And that's going to take you right over to our Facebook group where we would love to see you there. So come on over, introduce yourself, and we're going to start that conversation. Move it from the podcast right over there, and really look forward to hearing from you and getting to know all of you so much better. So I'll see you over there, RebeccaR.com/brand authority. And then I'll see you right back here for another edition of the Brand Authority Podcast.